Welcome to the first episode of the Hear the Roar podcast.
Where we give people around the school a chance to tell their untold stories.
We're your host, Amar Comfort.
And I'm Ben Staller. And we are here with a special guest, Principal Mr. Redd.
How's it going, guys?
And we hear you have some untold stories.
I do have some untold stories, some that have been partially told.
What is something that has shaped your views and / changed your life?
One of the things that has really made me who I am and shaped my views is where and the way in which that I grew up. A lot of students here, I grew up on family land or a family farm where I had a great deal of relatives around me, and they were all hardworking people. So I think that, and also the love and support that I received, really, I felt gave me a great foundation to do a lot of the different things that I've, had success in my life and in my career.
Do you have any siblings there?
I do. Speaking of, shaping my life, I have an older brother who was 9 years older than me. So, that's pretty significant. But he was a phenomenal athlete. He had a lot of accolades growing up, so my childhood was spent following him around. His best sport was basketball, but he was also very skilled in tennis and in baseball, which were in the same seasons. He was able to do both. So a lot of my childhood was spent following him around to his games, watching and having him model for me, looked like to be a great athlete, and the dedication that took, not only from him, but from my parents as well.
Did that push you into getting into athletics?
It did. It was a way of life, per se. To me, that's just what I thought you did. It pushed me to start trying out sports at an early age. And eventually, I fell in love with football and basketball, and then also participated in baseball and track growing up. Later on, football became my ticket, so to speak. But I also got some attention as a basketball player as well. Things that I learned from the athletic side of it, and then from my rural or farming roots was not a lot of idle time. You were either going to be playing a sport and going to practice, or you were going to get a job, or you were going to work around the farm or around the house. So I had a great childhood. My parents were really good to me. But the one thing that I was not allowed to do as a teenager was sleep in. And I either had to, even when I was not in season, my father would come in and he would say, "Hey, you got to get up and do something. There's cars that need washing. There's grass that needs cutting. There's something to do, and you're not going to waste your day laying in the bed." And oddly enough, that translated into some of my success later on, even at the collegiate level in football, because I was used to getting up early. And down at North Carolina State during winter workouts, when a lot of my teammates that were from more urban areas like Atlanta, Georgia, or Charlotte, North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, North Carolina, a lot of those gentlemen were not used to getting up early. And when we had 6 a.m. workouts in the off season, which is essentially when you earned your position, I performed extremely well simply for the fact that I was used to getting up early and having to do something. And a lot of them were not. So I really think that translated into me getting a head start and having a great career at NC State as a football player.
And can you expand more on your college experience at NC State?
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit. I'm from Henry County, Virginia, down near Martinsville, and a lot of people know it because of the Martinsville Speedway and NASCAR and all that, but it is literally right on the North Carolina border. My parents, my family's farm that I talk about is literally about 1.5 miles from the border, so literally almost in North Carolina, with Greensboro and Winston-Salem, North Carolina being kind of the largest cities that we would go to shop and, to do all that stuff. But anyway, I played at Magna Vista High School, which is a lot like Louisa High School, with the exception that there are other schools in that county, but it is a rural school that has a fairly mixed population, but they love their sports and they love their football, and so it was a pretty big deal. Like if the athletic teams were doing well, then it was a big deal, and if for some reason, whenever you lost that final playoff game or you had a bad season, it felt like something was missing. So athletics meant a lot to the community as well as to the students that participated in them. So I had a great athletic and academic career at Magna Vista. I was class president and graduated top 10 in my class after being recruited by several ACC schools decided on North Carolina State because they kind of stuck with me the whole time. Like, they never backed off. They offered early when I was at a quarterback and receivers camp. Felt very comfortable, and because of the proximity, it was only in some cases a little bit less than a 2-hour drive from my parents' home. So that meant a lot to me, and them being able to come see me play, and also being a homebody like I was and still am. It allowed me the opportunity to get back home whenever I could. Was recruited even though I played quarterback in high school, I was recruited as an athlete, and when I got to NC State, I think it was understood that I would play defensive back. I did redshirt my first year, which was more common during those days, and really got the opportunity to kind of start off. I'm glad I did, because I got the opportunity to start off with a great foundation academically, which ended up carrying me kind of through my entire collegiate career. So redshirted the first year, focused on my academics, focused on getting used to the college life, and then was able to compete for a spot on the team the following year. So just by happenstance, the second game of the year, I think one of the older guys actually got in trouble, and that allowed me to start against Florida State, which at that time, Florida State was king in ACC football. No one had beaten them yet at the time. Virginia was the first school that actually beat them in 1995, and then NC State was the second in 1998. So at that point, Florida State had been in the ACC about 10 years, and no one had beaten them. So they were really good. So here I am, a year and a half before my last game. I was boarding a school bus to go play a crosstown rival. And the next thing I know, I am on an ESPN center stage actually it wasn't ESPN, it was ABC, but like the primetime game, and I am starting as a freshman against one of the best teams in the country. I played well, I played decent, I held my own, took my lumps, and the team, we definitely took our lumps. It was not a close game, I'm not even going to say that it was, but to me that was a major moment in my journey that, to make that transition and be able to start in that kind of environment as a freshman, was definitely something that I'll never forget, and definitely something that shaped me. So from that point, what I will say is probably out of the next 40 or 44, I think 44 more games that I played in during my collegiate career, I started probably 38 of those games. So feel very fortunate in that regard. And so by the time I was a senior, I had switched from cornerback to safety and was a starting strong safety, and then also co-captains with a guy named Torrey Holt, who ended up playing for the Rams, and he will be in the Hall of Fame very, very, very soon. So very fortunate and blessed to have that career.
All right, well, thank you. That's all for today.
And that's been Amara.
And I've been Stallard, and we'll see y'all next time.